petrol subsidy debate by presidential candidates for political parties has taken center stage as the ongoing conference of the Nigerian Bar Association in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. NDC's Peter Obi, AAC's Omoyele Sowore, SDP's Adewale Adebayo, and vice presidential candidates like ADC's Rotimi Amaechi have joined the debate. Discussions focused on democracy, governance, and the future of Nigeria. Arise correspondent Udwak Patrick filed in this report.
Opening plenary on day 2 of the NBA conference brought together presidential candidates and other prominent political figures to share their perspectives on Nigeria's democratic development ahead of the 2027 general elections. The key discussion here is whether petrol subsidy removal should be retained or reversed. Presidential candidates of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, Peter Obi, clashed with African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, and the vice presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Chibuike Rotimi Amaechi, among others.
Mismanagement of the proceeds should not be the reason for not removing it. What we should have done is that when we remove subsidy, we would have given the people alternative usage for the subsidy. What we have today is that removal and the attendant resources being recovered is also being mismanaged and stolen. For example, we have received, according to them, 16 trillion. We will, I said it before, go to my manifesto and say I will remove subsidy. We'll do it in an organized manner, and whatever we recover will be invested appropriately.
The Atiku Amaechi ticket appears to be the brightest. If you look in this hall, I'm the politician. Don't shout. Most of you either be in court or waiting for court cases. I'm the politician. I've been a politician since the age of 22.
If there's anyone who has been consistent about non-removal of fuel subsidy, it has been me. And it took Amaechi and his principal almost 10 years to catch up with me. They have now reversed their position on fuel subsidy. The question about subsidy is, who are you subsidizing? You are subsidizing the elite, you are subsidizing the governors. The only people who are doing well since they removed subsidy are the governors of states.
There's a general principle of governance that anything that is essential must be local. So for instance, if water or electricity were essential, you have to localize it.
Another major issue discussed at the conference was police reforms and Nigeria's proposed transition towards multi-level policing. Speaking on the issue, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, stressed the importance of reforms aimed at improving the country's policing architecture and strengthening national security.
The first duty of government is protection. When lawful protection is absent, schools close, businesses retreat, and communities begin to make dangerous arrangements for their own survival.
With legal practitioners and other stakeholders in attendance from across Nigeria and beyond, the conference continues with discussions on democracy, justice, governance, and the role of the legal profession in strengthening the country's democratic institutions.
All right, well, campaign season officially opened up last week, 19th of August 2026, and well in time ahead of the NBA conference, which started yesterday in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Yesterday was explosive, and it was great to see some of the major competitors, some of the major contenders for the biggest and most responsible office in the land, which is the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We had the opportunity to listen to that debate, conversation, panel, which had in its sitting some of our frontliners. I think it's quite, again, mentioning that it's quite a shame and a bit of a disappointment to see the president himself not present, neither was the presidential candidate of the ADC, but he was very well represented by his vice presidential candidate, and of course we know it's a joint ticket. However, it was the chief of staff to the president who represented the president and hence the APC. This should not be a pattern. We talked about the signing of the peace accord and how it would have been great for the sake of optics and the spirit of the signing to have seen the president himself and Atiku Abubakar present. And what we want to encourage are debates like this, a festival of ideas, thoughts, an opportunity to listen very carefully and interrogate the propositions of these candidates. And in so doing, they were able, and kudos to the NBA, they were able to draw on very important issues that the Nigerian people ought to be interested in, and each candidate had the opportunity to talk about it. I'm hopeful that in subsequent conversations like this and debates, the president, in service of his people, would make himself available, as well as Atiku Abubakar. And please don't want you to say that it's not important. It is important. As long as he wants to serve the Nigerian people, then he has to be willing to speak to the people that he aims or hopes to serve. So just to mention that. But on the surface of this, fuel subsidy. This has been a conversation ongoing since, like I said yesterday, Atiku Abubakar stirred the hornet's nest, and everyone is coming out, either stating or restating their position and justifying the reason for their position. Let me take a few of them. Mr. Peter Obi is for the removal of fuel subsidy. That is one area that he agrees with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy. However, that's where it ends. In his submission, he said that he would do his differently. Number one is that there would be a proper plan to ensure that the most vulnerable people in Nigeria do not suffer. And then he talked about the transparency of the management of the funds that would be saved from subsidy removal. You can't fault that. That is something that we have said here, and I believe that the APC, under the Tinubu administration, has a good opportunity in the next few days to actually begin to make good on some of these areas that have been highlighted. Where has the money gone to? Yes, we know that FAC allocation has increased. Yes, we understand that subnationals, that's the governors, have more money. Yes, we know that they are now paying salaries. No state is owing salaries. But beyond salaries, what is the gain? And, we keep asking about this, and we will continue to ask until we get proper responses to this. Not just saying, oh, you don't know economics, or you don't know what we are doing, and not just giving us figures around macroeconomic wins. That is fantastic. But the people, the Nigerian people who will have the opportunity to decide in January, want to know beyond the macroeconomics of the savings, how it is affecting their pockets. To be quite honest, for a lot of people, this is washing over their head, subsidy or no subsidy. What is the concern really is how does this make my life better as a Nigerian? How am I enjoying the commonwealth of the sovereign of this nation? And if this administration is unable to answer that, then there's a big question mark around whether or not, this debate around fuel subsidy. The other part of this, of course, is this conversation on a gradual phasing out as an alternative option to the removal, a plan to provide a safety net for the most vulnerable in Nigeria. So what are the areas of concern? Mr. Sowore calls it subsidizing the rich. He said that he's always been for a non-removal of fuel subsidy, and he brings up his submissions. What he's saying is that in all these subsidy removal, the people who have benefited the most are the rich, the oil and gas players, the elite. So it looks like the Nigerian government is more favorable to the elite than the ordinary Nigerian people. There's a big problem there. It is bad for perception, it is bad for the optics, and it is not, it doesn't speak of a responsible government to the larger people. So his submission is this: let's keep subsidy. Let's continue to subsidize, but instead of channeling the subsidy to fund the lifestyle of the rich through corruption and, the elite cabal, let us bring it down more to the people. That is his own submission. The other part of it was Mr. Donald Duke, and I thought he made a very interesting point around you can't remove what does not exist. So in his own opinion, subsidy is a scam. In fact, as some people have explained, it is the biggest scam. It did not exist. It was just an opportunity for the big boys to make money at the expense of the Nigerian people. So what he said was a focus more on productivity of the Nigerian people, and that ought to be the priority of the government. He made a very salient point around not punishing the citizens for failure to protect the borders. He was talking about how we can stop the smuggling of Nigerian oil across borders, even talking about dyeing this oil to ensure that security agents are able to trace it. And I thought that was quite a brilliant submission, because the talk is always about how subsidy encourages arbitrage. It is, sent to countries across borders. We have porous borders, and he gave a solution. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear about the problems alone. We want to hear about solutions to tackling the issues. So a number of issues already have talked about, Atiku Abubakar's own proposition to subsidy removal, but the debate still exists. And I hope that Nigerians are keeping their ear to the ground and ensuring that the talk around subsidy, and even particularly asking questions. The governors who have received more FAC allocation, have they built more? How have they managed the basic education in schools? Have more schools been built? Have primary health centers improved in your state? Have the governors been creative enough to enable the environment for businesses to thrive and for job creation to happen? Or are they just hiring aides like one governor did and saying that is his own solution to job creation? So these are critical questions that I believe in the next few days, as we head towards the elections, Nigerians can ask in order to make an informed decision, and even for ideas as to how to get ourselves out of this mess we are as a result of what has been proposed. And I do agree with a poor planning of what the removal of subsidy should look like, and also a lack of transparency and accountability as to where the windfalls have gone to. That is one of the biggest challenges of the Tinubu administration's approach to the removal of fuel subsidy. But, these questions continue, and we hope that in the next few days, and it talked about a number of things. I know that during What's Trending, we'll talk about the approach to insecurity and other issues here in Nigeria. Rufa, your take on these stories?
At first, like I said before, anybody that doesn't come for presidential debate, when you vote them in, they will not take you seriously. I'm brutally honest. People can go ahead and defend them all they want. It's not today people have been defending evil in Nigeria. The people that defend evil yesterday, how is their life better today? Your guess is as good as mine. So those that didn't attend these first presidential debates, as far as I'm concerned, that didn't deem it fit to come for this first presidential debate, they will not take you seriously if they are voted in. It's pure and simple. Second point, I'm happy that they are debating subsidy. The problem, like I've always said, I have with Atiku Abubakar, subsidy removal plan, is that he has not shown workings. Yesterday, I talked about mathematical modeling. Yeah. There must be a modeling. You can't say if petrol is $40 per barrel, you will subsidize. It will not make sense. There must be a modeling threshold for it. But the production subsidy that he talked about, there's nothing bad. Every nation do it in the world. So for Atiku Abubakar that has not released the model, let me give him one model today. The first model I'm going to give him, over the 1 week, I'm going to be giving different models of how they do subsidy. The first model I'm going to give is the UAE model. In 2015, United Arab Emirates will remove subsidy. But you know what they did? They introduced something called an inflation allowance scheme, eligible to UAE nationals that earn under 25,000 dirhams. There's a fuel allowance tier that says that if Special 95, that's a high-grade, high-octane oil, is between 2.10 and 2.85 liters, they will give such family or such person 300 dirhams as subsidy to buy it. If Special 25 goes to 3.60 liters, they will give such person 600 dirhams extra. If it goes up to 3.61 liters, they will give, if per liter for dirham, they will give such household 900 monthly. This might be a plan they might have in the offing, but I can quickly tell you that they will quickly scam this plan in Nigeria. Because the people that will be the one to share the money, they will be collecting the money, and I can even account for the poor, because they can't even tell you the data they have. So a plan like this, maybe UAE might be too advanced for Nigeria. But a production subsidy, it's not a big deal, like Atiku Abubakar said. In fact, I put it to you that the first story we read today, the reason why those FID is coming is because there's a production subsidy, the deep offshore, scheme, that they are now saying is bringing a lot of investment in. They're talking about Bonga, reaching the first pre-feed engineering drawings, and they have had addendum, and they are going straight now. If they pass in the second process, then they will now be reaching FID. It's a subsidy on production, because they said, in part of the President Tinubu's outline, he said if they can make production in the deep field, he can give up to $11 per barrel tax breaks on that production. That's a form of subsidy. So what's the difference between what Atiku Abubakar is saying and what President Tinubu is doing to incentivize, what's it called? So when people tell you subsidy gone, there's subsidy everywhere. I'm sure that's why my friend and brother Donald Duke is saying that it's a scam. There's subsidy. The 34 trillion that they used to subsidize import waivers for, is that not a form of subsidy? Is it not even more than what subsidy you are paying on petrol? Is it not more than subsidy you are paying on petrol? So that foregone revenue of 34 trillion, which we will have added to revenue too. So there's a form of subsidy. Let's stop deceiving us. Every nation in the world, America, in tax breaks and waivers for production subsidy they do, it's about $35 billion. Just to be able to cushion. Because you see, like the Bible says, Dr. Abati, you're a pastor, there must be the poor among us, Abi. Didn't the Bible say that?
The poor shall inherit their.
So there must always be poor people among us. Let's not deceive ourselves. But the true test of a nation is how the nation treats its weakest link. Mm-hmm. But you see, the problem here, and I get Sowore's point in that debate, is that they are subsidizing the rich. A lot of the rich is the only governors. What about the crony capitalists? I said yesterday, your people have private ports in this country. What are you saying? What is the private ports in this country? What are you saying? Let's not just go there. So they carry things into this country. They get subventions. They get import licensing. They get everything. So heavily subsidized. All the so-called big men in this country. If I open the keke of the contracts they are getting in subsidies from government here and there, the country will not. But what can you do to them? That's how did Nigeria build its elite class? You think it's through hard work? Nigerian elite class should come out, those that call themselves the super billionaires, and come out and tell us that they never got one government subvention in their entire lives. They should come out. They should come out and tell me, yes, sitting here today, that they have never gotten one government subvention or form of subsidy in their entire lives. They should come and tell it to me. How do we build the elite class, the super rich, the bourgeoisie rich, the old money? How do we build it? It's all government subsidy. Let's stop deceiving ourselves of the private jet. All government subsidy. But what we are saying now is that how will it trickle down? So it's the trickle down effect we are looking for here. And that's why people are muting ideas of production subsidy. Some are saying direct conditional cash transfer. But till tomorrow, people that EFCC hold in humanitarian departments, now we have not concluded the case. All of a sudden, they found their way into the, what's it called now, Presidential Campaign Council.
APC Presidential Campaign
You get,
Council.
Even their DG in the APC Presidential Council should be return money to EFCC. Their DG bought a company for 1 trillion in this country. Nobody, even SEC said it was the deal of the year. Nobody came to ask, how did a politically exposed person buy 1 trillion worth of company? They were all shouting, Kumbaya, Eyege, Kumbaya, Eyege. Where did he get the money for? How many factories does he have to his name before now?
Okay.
So let's stop deceiving ourselves. And like I said before, let me just reiterate before we go. Those that didn't come to these debates, they will never treat Nigeria as them Donald Duke that came there. The people that are there that didn't come are not better than the Donald Duke. President Tinubu and Donald Duke were both in the same class of 99 as governors. But he came there. The Atiku Abubakar that didn't come there, he was vice president, yes. Donald Duke was governor in this country. Sowore has run business. You can't call anybody there a low-grade people that on that debate.
As long as you present
yourself forward. So why didn't the others come? Be dragging their ear now to come. Because when they get there, they will not take it seriously.
All right.
I've finished.
Okay, very quickly, let me talk about developments in the Middle East, US and Iran.